I buy houses that need some work done and value added, completely renovate them top to bottom, make them absolutely perfect, and then sell them for a profit. Don't sit for another year and think about it. Tell themselves they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, and that's just fear talking. My dad is like, why is she buying another house? Oh, before they were even sold, I'd bought 2 more houses. The profit from those two bed apartments was £102,000.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast. I think we're gonna enjoy this one because we've had like a few experts on different things, but you're our first like flipping expert.
I am a flipping expert. Yeah.
And I think probably the best place to start is for those listening to this and thinking like, what does he mean by flipping expert? And we'll maybe do it a little bit differently. If you were on an elevator or in an elevator with one of us and we asked you who you are and what you do, you've like that sort of 30 seconds. We're not going to time you so it doesn't have to be like bang on, but what would your response be?
Well, my response would probably be like I flip houses for profit, and that means that I buy houses that need some work done and value added, and I completely renovate them top to bottom, make them absolutely perfect, and then sell them for a profit. Nice.
Below 30 seconds. That was a good one. But yeah, so obviously you're Carly. I forgot to actually say your name. That was bad of me. But yeah, flipping Belfast is what you do. Yeah, a bit of background in terms of you were working in the civil service.
Yes. I was in the civil service for 16 years before I started to get into flipping properties. 16
years?
Yeah,
whoa.
Long time. I know I don't look like I was in it for 16 years. Maybe I do.
So yeah, well, like in terms of that there, like it's just interesting because obviously I think when we had our initial sort of chat with you, you had mentioned that you were in the civil service and whatnot, and it was quite alarming because for us, people would describe it as like stereotypically it's very safe. I might say a cushy job.
Mm-hmm. Some might say that, yes. I suppose it depends what you're doing in the civil service. I was in asylum, and that was a bit more high profile and a bit more fast paced than maybe some of the other branches of the civil service. But that's the thing here. I see that people in the civil service and the jobs are like that. It is safe. And sometimes that makes it really difficult for people to step away and take a chance or take a risk at doing something that maybe, sets their soul on fire a bit more.
Yeah.
What made you step away and take the risk on?
The risk to me was I felt like I was made for more. I felt like there's got to be more to life than making £2,000 to £3,000 a month, sitting in a job that wasn't really exciting me. It wasn't satisfying me in any way. Maybe it was because of the length of time I was there, but I just thought there's got to be more than this. It didn't really fuel this like crazy lifestyle that I wanted in my head, this very expensive lifestyle. And it is, as you say, it's safe. My dad was like, "Why are you leaving? This is like such a safe job and this is great." And it's kind of an old school mentality, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought there's got to be more than this, and it's worth a try. And yes, that safety's there, but what actually terrified me more than losing that safe job was sitting there until I was like 68, 69 in that job. That, to me, that's far more terrifying than actually just taking a chance, and maybe you might fail, maybe you might succeed, but surely like it's worth a go.
And like, why property? Did you always have like an interest in property, or where did that come from?
Yes, I always had an interest in property. I always liked looking at like new houses. I always liked looking at, watching programs, Homes Under the Hammer that everybody watches in the morning. Love that. And even like back in the 90s, like I remember sitting with mum and watching Changing Rooms and all those kinds of things. So I always did have an interest. But also with those programs and with like maybe looking at a bit more on YouTube and things like that, you actually see the profits that people can make. So if I was going into a side hustle maybe that was, I'm just going to say making cakes, it might be, I wouldn't achieve the money that I wanted, and I had time pressure. I wanted to make money for a house that I wanted to build. Yeah. So I was like, how do I make like a big pot of money and quickly? And property to me seemed the only thing that I could potentially be good at.
Yeah, but that's interesting too. You've said there you're going to make a big pot of money, but did it never did you never think like the likes of making a cake? You're making a cake, you put it out and you get your money back. Whereas with property, it's like you can maybe be waiting like a couple of months,
Yeah.
to get that return. Was that ever an issue?
It wasn't an issue because waiting a couple of months for my first house, what I was hoping for was 20,000. I was more than happy to wait a couple of months for 20,000. I was like, at that time, if you had said to me, in this year, this first 12 months, you can make 20,000, but like, yeah, grand, like that's fine for me. Yeah, that suits me because it's just that was the goal at the end of the day for the first one.
It's a lot of cakes, though.
It could be,
I suppose it's better too, because then if you were in the likes of using cakes again, but you're getting the money constantly, whereas if it's one lump sum,
yes,
it's like that's your reinvestment money, whereas cakes you could spend that easy, like
Yeah.
if you're constantly
you can
getting
spend
it.
20,000 easy too, trust me.
I think it's like I think it's so interesting to see like the getting over that mental barrier of like a house seems like such a huge thing to buy, and it's almost like people like all like for the likes of even people around our age, like we're saving like almost like 20 years, 25 years, some save more than that just to be able to buy the house.
Yes.
So it's crazy, like it's such a big decision.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And
And it seemed big at the time. And a whole nother story, I ended up buying 2 at once. The first flip turned into 2 at the same time. And it did seem huge. But again, that gives you the push and the motivation to actually, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. And now, even when I'm buying a house, my friends sometimes will laugh and they're like, she's just talking about buying a house. Like, we would go out and buy a jacket from Zara.
I think that's the thing though. Like whenever you started on this venture, it was like even the way you were saying the other day when we were on the phone, you're like, yeah, I've had this house in mind, and then you ended up buying 2.
Yes.
So like. That's like double bubble. Like that's not just, you're not going for one massive investment, it's 2.
Yes.
Like, was that not did that not add more fuel? Were more people more like, you're crazy? Like,
oh, everybody was like, I was
enough.
crazy with 1, 100%. So then 2 to the mixture, they actually, I think they thought, no, there's a problem here, she's lost her mind. But I had sold my own house. So I, owned a house on a mortgage, a very sensible 3-bed semi in South Belfast. But I couldn't afford it to refurb 1 without selling it. So I had to put it up, and don't get me wrong, I decorated it and updated it, so I made a nice profit on that. And then when I sold my home for this apartment that needed completely flipped, it was only that week, I think I got the keys, that an estate agent phoned up and said, the other one that you were bidding on has fallen through, so would you like that too? But because there was a little bit of money there from the house, I thought, well, yeah, I could have a mortgage, a buy-to-let mortgage on the second one. I think I could afford it, and checked with obviously mortgage advisor and everybody that needed to check with, and they said, yeah, you could do it, like go for it. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And actually it worked out a wee bit better because the trades were all there for 1, so they may as well and go and do the second one at the same time.
Yeah. So in terms of your first venture down this, you bought 2 properties.
Yes.
What was the kind of time frame to getting them done up, and like your first venture, because it was probably would have been the hardest, like, is it your first time getting into this?
First was definitely the hardest, and I thought 6 months was a good kind of gauge for me. It was just thought I can cope with the repayments for 6 months, and in my head I just thought I could get this done in this amount of time. It seems reasonable. You see people on TV shows and they're like 8 weeks, and I was like, no, there's absolutely no chance that's happening. So just be a bit more realistic about it. And then again, because I was doing the same kind of thing, it was both 2-bedroom apartments. And I had the trades there, and I had chosen a kind of cookie cutter approach, so chosen the same kind of look for both of them.
Yeah.
The 6 months, both of them were refurbished and on the market. Now, it took a bit longer once they were sale agreed and conveyancing to go through, but in those 6 months, the profit from those 2-bed apartments, after everybody was paid off, was £102,000. And I was like, oh my goodness. Actually, do I have to go to work anymore? Like, I could flip like once a year, or, maybe twice a year, and this would cover the profit. Like, this would be my wage. And then that's just kind of where that idea was born, because what I was looking for from one of those properties was £20,000. And don't get me wrong, whilst I was in the middle of renovating those properties and it was £20,000 I'm looking for, you know, the joiners wanting so many thousand, the plumbers wanting so many thousand, and I just felt like I had a money gun and I was just throwing it at these people. And then I was like, oh my goodness, if I made 10, that would be good, because you were starting to think, oh, this is getting out of control.
Yeah.
But 41 on one and 61 on the other.
Did that sort of like exceed your expectations then?
Oh, it blew me away.
Yeah,
it changed my life. It blew me away.
You did
It
actually have a money gun then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I did. It opened my mind to, oh my goodness, the possibilities and the opportunities that comes with that. It's definitely not what I thought. That I was just aiming for £20,000 because I wanted to put that towards building a house.
How do you think you got to that? Like to that figure? You know, you said 40 and 60.
Yeah.
But you were expecting 20. Is it just like you underestimated how much they were worth, or did you put more work into it?
I think I'm a bit
worth that?
conservative at the start.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
if 20k. Now, maybe I was probably saying that out loud. If I got 20,000, I'd be delighted. In my head, I was like, please let me get 30 or something like that, you know. But and then obviously, as I said, once the money was being handed out left, right and centre, the panic set in. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, sometimes you have that thought before you go to bed. As long as I break even, I'm not out any money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just completely exceeded that. And I thought that once people got in and seen the quality of the homes, that's when the bidding started. Yeah. So when people are in the door and they're seeing, you know, something they love and something they want to live in, and a product that they can just walk into and literally set their toothbrush in and put their clothes in the wardrobe and live there, then they fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And then it just increased the bidding. And so there was like obviously a bit of a bidding war with it, and it just went higher than I expected.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, like, how much did you pay for the houses at the start?
So the first one was 82,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
In Ravenhill, and I spent just close to 16 on it, and sold it for 140.
God. And the second one?
The second one was 100,000, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment in Newton Breda in South Belfast. I don't know if you know it. So it was 100,000 for the 2-bedroom apartment. I spent 13 on that one.
Yeah.
I lived in that one. Do not recommend. I lived in that one, and at the end I sold it for 174,000.
Like they're not like overly expensive houses. You think at that lower end, you're not the price, like the amount of profit you get off them isn't as much as that.
Yeah.
But obviously it is an achievable thing for someone trying to start out.
It is definitely achievable. They are the lower end of the scale, and people say, oh, but that was like 3-4 years ago. It's changed now, the prices. Well, that £82,000, I have actually just currently renovating an apartment in that block at the minute that I spent 92,000 on it. So same style, it's £10,000 dearer for me to purchase, but that's because we're so many years down the line. But then again, I would expect an extra £10,000 on the sale price at the end.
Yeah.
So you're talking 3 to 4 years ago?
Yeah.
So
4 years
after
ago.
you sell them 2 flats, like what do you do with the money then? Like what was...
Oh, before they were even sold, I'd bought 2 more houses. I was like, oh, I'm on a roll here. And all thoughts of me building the house were like just pushed to the back so that I could do this again and potentially do it again. And obviously I thought then if I did this and I enjoyed it, because remember I was doing this full time.
Yeah.
Those 2 apartments, I was in work full time as well. So I was doing it evenings, weekends. You know, it was 2:00 in the morning and I was putting furniture together on my own in a cold house, like crying before I went to work in the morning. Nice. So it was tough, but it just made me think maybe if I kept this up and kept going with profits like these, then I wouldn't have to go to work anymore, or this could be, you know, this could be just a new career route for me, because that's not how it started.
What was people's reaction like whenever like see your family and stuff? Obviously you've just bought 2 houses. 6 months down the line, there's that pressure. Is she going to make her money back? Is she not? You sell them, you make £100,000 profit. Happy days, people are out celebrating, and then you come back and go, but surprise guys, we're doing it all again.
Well, you know, people have very different mindsets. So most people are like, oh my goodness, that's great. Yeah, go for it. Do it again. You know, that worked out really well. Yeah. My dad is like, why is she buying another house? Yeah. Like, he's just panicked. He's like, just sit and work. Yeah. You know, his actual words were, you've already done it. Why are you doing it again? And I'm like, Dad, because I made so much money. But he's just wanting
that is
to
a Northern
me.
Ireland. Yeah. That's a Northern Ireland parent type thing. Though I feel like the older generation are like, play it safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, the third one, I didn't tell mum and dad. I'm an only child. I didn't
nice.
tell mum and dad that I'd actually bought it until I bought it, and we were going for a walk, and they said, "Oh, that house is for sale," and I was like, "Yeah, I bought it." They're like, "Ha ha ha!" And I was like, "Do you want to say?"
That's such a flex.
Yeah.
But also because my mum and dad have helped me out massively.
Yeah.
Dad, he's retired now, but he's a painter and decorator, so he helps me with this, and he also knows the work that's lined up for him. He waits in for appliances for me, and he
I need a wee bit of painting and decorating.
Oh, do you?
just slip that in there.
It's really expensive painting and decorating, but mine only cost me like a bottle or two of brandy from
There you go.
Spain.
Here. I get him a bottle to a brandy sort of no bother. Let me know the brand.
How many houses have you done now from then?
So now I'm up to 9 flipped,
Right.
but I do have a couple that I'm currently renovating for a rental now. So
Yeah.
I decided to go down that route.
And have
just
you
see
not
how-
done any rentals or anything? Yeah.
I had one rental all along, which was an accident. So it was the house that I wanted to demolish and build this dream house of mine on.
Right.
And then you run into problems. So planning permission was a huge problem. It got refused the first time. I was like, what? And because it was a house, I was paying the mortgage on this and the rates, and it was just getting a bit much. So I had to put it up for rent until I got the planning permission through.
Yeah.
So kind of accidental landlord at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is intentional from now onwards.
Would you not say that's the overall goal more so than anything is becoming the landlord? Whereas before you're obviously selling the houses on, and then you get to the stage where you're able to keep them, and you've that constant flow of income
Passive
coming.
income coming in, yeah. It was, so it kind of changed. So obviously then I was flipping the 9 houses and the money was coming in. I was getting very used to every 6 months or so, a huge pot of money coming in. And then, I was getting into a lot of property education. Last year I spent £25,000 on a course in England to educate me more about how I can move to the next level.
Yeah.
And they're very keen on, don't ever sell a house. You can always have this passive income coming in. You can refinance. And that was great. And I threw myself into that course. I actually won it. So I over in Birmingham, going back and forward every month for a year. But that was the goal then. Now, maybe I won't have to flip. Maybe if it's a bad time in the market, or maybe if I'm just exhausted with it and don't want to do it anymore, this is an option. I can just create a passive income from a rental portfolio.
Yeah.
And it took me a year. I worked seriously hard and built that portfolio up to 2.35 million in 12 months. Now, nightmare, and I still haven't finished the projects on it, but I did it. I worked hard at it and did it. But what I realised in those 12 months is then I didn't have those pots of money coming in that I was so used to for finance other developments. And I was thinking, where am I getting the money from this? So I have a property coach, and you're constantly redefining what you want to do and the next step in the journey. And after thinking about it, flipping is my bread and butter. I know what I'm doing. I can do it with my eyes closed. I know my product. I know what the market's looking for. So I've kind of now developed a balance. So I'm going to do 3 flips this year, but I'm also going to do rentals this year.
Yeah.
And then it means that more work, but I have a bit of both.
Yeah.
Seems like a smart idea though, because obviously with the flipping aspect of things, as you say, there could be months where you could be without money coming in, and then whereas with the rental, if you had a decent portfolio there, you're constantly getting some type of money in every month where you can obviously pay tradesmen or whatever. I think it's quite a smart. The numbers you're talking here is crazy. You know what I mean?
It sounds crazy to me because remember 4 years ago I was sitting earning just over $2,500 in the civil service.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal of where you want to get with the property?
Yes, I'd like to get to a point where I'm comfortably living off the rental property income. And these rental properties, I'm looking at really high-end kind of corporates. That's my idea at the minute.
So this be offices and stuff, or
no, it's more renting to a lot of companies coming over from London are looking for accommodation for their staff. And really, I mean, there's not that great a quality rentals here in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
If you look at it compared to the London market, it's very, very different. So a lot of companies end up putting their staff in hotels, and for a long period of time, that's
Cost.
not
Because you do,
Up, yeah.
you do hear about a lot of people over here who go over to England to like drive lorries or even work on building sites, and they have accommodation paid
Yes.
for them through but you don't really hear about a lot of that
Yeah.
over here.
that's happening here. Look at our industries in like film and TV and
Yeah.
the whole crew coming over for Line of Duty or Game of Thrones. Where
Yeah.
are they staying? And it's not just like the actors; it's the whole crew. Where's the
Yeah.
sound guy staying? Where's the the cameraman staying and things like that? And they can end up in hotels and for X amount of months. Who wants to sit in a bed? Like you'd be the size of a house,
Yeah.
eating room service for that length of time.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, and also even not jobs like that. There's jobs like EU jobs. A lot of people are over here working for the Commission and Northern Ireland Protocol and things like that, and they're all needing somewhere to stay. And so it's kind of going for that market. So the high end, like I do in the flips, quality, but making sure that it's suitable for a business.
Yeah. Can I ask, you talk a lot, you obviously talked there at the start about the civil service and stuff, and the reason sort of why you decided to take that step into the next venture was because you thought there's bound to be something else. But you, from your entrepreneurial side, has it always been there, or is it something that you've developed? Obviously there has been development over a while. As you said, you have a property coach and you've done your courses and stuff, but like whenever you look back at before even civil service, or even before you get into flipping Belfast, like was there that entrepreneurial side to you, do you think, or something that you thought, I'm going to do something a little bit different? Or
do you know what? It probably was in there, but it was so buried that no, it wasn't. I just knew that I wanted to do something more exciting. I knew that I wanted to do something that, I could earn more money with. Sometimes here as well in Northern Ireland, like people are a wee bit taboo about money.
Yeah.
But we all need money, and we all like money, and we all want money to live whatever life we want to, whether that's, you going to Vegas every month and spending your winnings, or whether that's, because you're really into dogs and you want to open up like a dog sanctuary or something. Everybody wants money for their dreams and goals and achievements, and I don't think we talk about that here. So I knew that, but the world of opportunity and possibility wasn't really open to me, and I kind of had to change my mindset about that and see what was out there. And looking on YouTube and on the internet and seeing people making crazy money, you're like, hi, like, and then that led me to watching a couple of Simon Zucci videos, and who I actually did the property coaching with now. There's loads in England. So doing some training with him, and I tiptoed in because I was sitting in work and I thought, I'll watch all the free videos first of all. And then there was like a course with him to go to England for £500. And £500 to me was then, I was like, oh, am I going to spend £500 doing this? And I did, and got so much out of it that I was like creeped into another course a couple of months later, which was like 1,500. And I was like, oh my goodness, I was spending £1,500 on a course. And at that time on that course, people were around me who had signed up this £25,000 to go on this further training. And I thought, they are mad in the head. Like there's something wrong with them. That's a deposit on a house. Now I was flipping at this point, but still to me, that was wild. That was absurd. £25,000. You could have a house, you could renovate it, you could rent it out and make passive income. So I just thought that was so crazy. But then a year later, when those people had finished the course and I seen the leaps and bounds they had taken, and it blew my mind, the amount of money they had as a property portfolio and what they were able to passively do. I was like, oh my goodness, I could kind of see the worth in it. Yeah. And then that's when I thought, right, I'm going to go flip. I'm going to go. I'm just going to have to do it. And I wouldn't I've obviously learned a lot, and it's saved me a lot in like expensive lessons, but also it's pushed me on to the next level. Yeah. I bought like a commercial building in Belfast. It's like shops and like a mixture of apartments upstairs, and I'm going to completely renovate it and turn it into 9 apartments. So would I have thought of that like a couple of years ago? Would I have thought I'd been able to figure out how to do that? No, but it's kind of build up and educating yourself, and also mindset as well. So important, like to know that you're capable of it, to know that it's possible, to see other people doing it. That's the thing. When you see other people doing it, you know
the proof's in the pudding.
Was it good in terms of like even an accountability point of view, where you're like, I've just spent 25 grand on this, I need to make it back?
You've skin in the game now, and you have to do it. Like the fear is you get to the end of the 12 months and you've done absolutely nothing. But there was the first 2 months I was actually out looking at properties to flip, and it just dawned on me, I came out of one of the properties, why are you looking at these flips? You paid all this money, you know how to do a flip, so why are you out looking at these again? You need to be looking at other things. And that's where the commercial properties and some other things come into play, like using investors, because all the way up I've been using like all my money to finance all these. And sometimes when people say those words like use investors, you think, oh my goodness, nobody's going to invest in me. I'm just this like girl pottering about in her own flipping houses. But it encouraged you and taught you how to use investors to bring in the money to renovate. And I mean, that's the goal, because you're not only improving your life, you're improving the investors. You're able to give them a return on their money. They don't have to do anything really for it, but lend it to you for like 12 months. So that was a real turning point.
You sort of... Sorry. Do you want to go?
Explain this a bit about how the investors actually works, because I know, like, from my perspective, if you want to buy a house, you'll go get your deposit and you go get a mortgage. But obviously there's different options as well. Yeah. Can you like explain to us like how the investors work, or how they agree to...
Yes, so an investor will come along and offer you, we're going to say £150,000, say £100,000 to buy a property. It's just an easy number. Yeah. And then you agree a time period with them. So in 12 months, I'm going to give you 6% back. So in 12 months' time, once you've used that £100,000 to buy it and refinance it, in 12 months, you should be able to refinance your own property, be that usually under a mortgage, like an interest-only mortgage, and then you're able to pull that money out and give the £106,000 back. You'll have made a hell of a lot more. Yeah. So say you've made, like the lowest I made was 41,000. So I'd have to give 6 of that back if I used an investor. So that's plus their money.
Their dividends, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, where do you find them? Like, if, like, say someone wants to try and do this.
People at the start,
I
was like, where'd I find an investor? And then I started putting some things on Instagram, and just some strangers have approached me and they're investors. Friends have approached me, they're investors.
It will be so strange to me that people are like, here,
nobody you think.
Send me your PayPal.
To be honest, it's not people you think. So there's a lot of like family, friends that I would think, God, yeah, they have a bit of money, they can invest. It's not those people.
People are twigging on now. Your money in the bank is as good as anything. Like it's not great. Like you're not.
If your money is in the bank, then you're losing money every year with inflation. You know, say 3-4 years ago, you were able to buy a house for £100,000. And that you had £100,000 in the bank, but you held off and you didn't because the market wasn't great. You can be sure that house isn't 100,000 anymore. So your money's lost value.
Yeah.
We sort of touched on the money aspect. Like for people listening that might be like, I want to get into this, like where do I start? Like what are the options for like someone who say maybe has a house deposit, maybe doesn't have a house deposit? Like is there options for sort of everyone? Or?
Yeah, some people, especially like training courses, that try to hook you in and say you don't need any money to get started. You do. It might not be your own money, that's the thing, but you do need some money to get started. And you can go down the traditional route with you buy a house with a deposit that you've saved up or somebody's lent to you, and you can, if you're starting off and it's your first house, you can just buy a house on a normal residential mortgage with like a 5 to 10% deposit and crack on with it. If it's a second home or you're setting it up as a business, you buy it as a buy-to-let mortgage, and you can use an interest-only mortgage, and it's a lot cheaper. There's also like platforms like Crowd Property, where if it's something you want to do as a business, they'll lend you 70% off the house value or the site value, but they'll also lend you 100% of the development value. Now you're paying a premium for it, you're paying 10% returns, but if it's something that you can clearly see you're going to make money on, it's an option.
That's interesting too, the fact they're lending 100%. It's very difficult to get 100% of a... You'll not get a mortgage at 100%?
No, but they'll lend you 70% off the house. Yeah. So you'll still have to pay, 30% down. Yeah. 100% of like developing, or flipping or something like that.
I think that's a lot. One thing I didn't even really realise that was you never get like, you go to get your mortgage of the house, but it's not for the full value of the house. It's only for say like 80% of it.
Yes.
And the same with like buy-to-let, isn't it? Only 75%?
75%. If you're buying your own house, you should be able to get 90% off it, maybe a bit more.
Buy-to-let?
Off a residential, just your own
right.
mortgage. It's usually a 5 to 10% deposit at the minute.
Yeah. And then like, say someone was looking to start up, like what's probably the best option for that? If you wanted to say like flip a house or alternatively buy a house to rent?
Well, once they've got the money for it and go, it's really just learning what the process is. So learning, you need to know beforehand your budget, what things are going to cost. You need to find that out. You need to be able to know how much it is to like rewire a 3-bed semi if that's what you're doing, or replumb how much is gas boiler, all things like that. And then understanding what order the trades come in. And then just really taking action is the main thing. You just have to do it, and you'll learn as you go if you mess up. And also trades are really good with saying, what are you bringing me in here for? Like, it's not me next to the electrician should be in. They'll kind of guide you along about who's next and who you need, especially if you get like, I have a great group of tradesmen who will like help and offer solutions and recommend people along the way. So as long as you're willing to go and talk to people and take some action, that's all you really need, that and a bit of money.
Like even on the renovation side of it as well, like so say you have like your deposit, like how much would you suppose you'd also need the money sitting to like put into the house? Like,
if you're just doing it the traditional route, you do. One of them, when I was training, there was all this thing about, use other people's money. And I was like, what does that mean? But it could even mean, and I know this sounds risky in some circumstances, I had the money there, but I thought I'm going to use a 0% like credit card and see how that goes, because like £10,000 on this, and I ended up buying supplies and showers and kitchens on that. And then when I sold the house, I just paid it back. Now I had the money there, it was a safety net, but it was just to kind of see how that went. So people use different options, and especially if you can get a loan from somebody who doesn't necessarily want a huge return on it.
I suppose that benefits you then too in the future whenever you are using the likes of a credit card. It's like building your credit score, making it better and better. So obviously the next time you do go to get, it's going to be like you're going to get a better rate and stuff.
And also if you can, some people are really afraid of debt, but there's good debt. And also use one that gives you a mile, so when you have the house flipped, you can actually go on holiday somewhere with the points.
It's funny though, because like not a lot of people, you don't get taught this in school.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? It's I find crazy is that these are actual like sort of life skills, like understanding mortgages and understanding ways to buy a home. Like I know even we're kind of going through it at the minute. We just bought a house, and like there's some stuff you come up and it just smacks you in the face, and you're like, I was never taught how to prepare for this, and then you rely on other people's information to like to understand what's happening.
And sometimes you're relying on information from parents, and that parents, it could be for me like information from the 70s, which is not relevant today.
Where would you advise people to go to get that sort of information?
I'd say your first stop is a mortgage advisor, just to see what you can afford. How far off, what kind of houses, what price of houses you can bid on and things like that. Also, like, get online. YouTube's great for loads of free information, free advice. There's like, free ebooks and things like that. There's courses that you can pay for to do. Like, I hosted my own how to flip a house course, the first one ever, in January there, and I had 12 guys on it who were so motivated. That's what I put out for 12, because I'm a chatterbox and I like a lot of people close by and some one-on-one time with them, and they were super motivated. They paid, they came for the day, they took notes, asked questions, and they're out there. That was 2 weeks ago. They're out there viewing houses. They've set up business accounts. They've been and spoke to mortgage advisors, like put offers in on houses. So get yourself surrounded with those type of people, and people that are going to push you forward a bit. And also, if you need to do it without paying, there is the free education out there too.
And like moving on, like to the actual property itself then, so like say someone, right, they've got the money situation sorted, like what sort of property what do you be looking for in a property that you can flip or like add value to?
I'm looking for, first and foremost, location, because I can change anything about inside that house, but I cannot change outside of it. I'm looking at neighbours. What's the neighbour's house look like? What's the street look like? What area is it in? Also an area that is, like here in Northern Ireland, mixed. You don't want to cut out 50% of your potential buyers. What does the place look like? Is it close to like a main road? Is it really noisy in the back garden? Because those things you cannot change. Inside, I'm not that concerned about, because I'm going to make it like beautiful. But outside, I'm concerned. I want people to drive up and go, yes, this is an area I want to live in. This is people are looking for something that's like quiet and peaceful and close to things. I find, like, obviously I'm really Belfast focused, but like people want to be close to shops and coffee shops and schools and things like that. So primarily that's what I'm looking for. And also, if the shit hits the fan, you might have to live in that house.
Yeah.
So would you be okay living in it? Because I certainly wouldn't buy a house if I wasn't happy to live in it. So that'd be the first things I'm looking for. Inside, I'm looking for something that it can add value to. So they're usually, my friends call them granny houses. And there's like that swirly, flowery carpet. There's always a blue bathroom suite going on. And just, you know, sometimes you can add value. Like I bought a house that the bathroom was downstairs and I knew that would put so many people off. So I managed to get like a little upstairs, like just even WC inside so that people can go to the bathroom in the middle of the night or so all the usual ones, and also rejigging the layout. So sometimes it just doesn't work, and it doesn't work. It maybe worked in the 80s, but it doesn't work now because we like open plan living a bit more and things. So looking at walls to see if they're stud, if you can take them down, if you can reconfigure the space. The last house I flipped, it turned from a 3-bedroom into a 4 just by moving some walls around.
Yeah.
And like, can that, I'm assuming like going from a 3 to a 4 bed can add so much value to it, like so much like profit at the end of it.
Yeah, and just they hadn't used the space right, because there was like off the landing there was this weird attic space, and that's what it just looked like you were walking into an attic. But I was able to like insulate it, board it, plaster it, put like radiators in the room and spotlights, and make it into a walk-in wardrobe.
Yeah.
You know, which just be, you know, a bit innovative about what you could do with it.
Yeah.
And there I turned from this like 3-bed semi kind of bungalow style house to a 4-bed with a walk-in wardrobe, which is obviously added value on, and then obviously the full rewire, replumbing, making it pretty.
Yeah, and you see, you sort of touched on location there. Like, I know you're mainly Belfast, but even in Belfast, like if someone's listening and maybe just wants to know a good area, because like I'm from like Armagh, so I don't really know Belfast, but I live up here.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't really know what areas are good in terms of like if I was going to buy, like what would be the main areas that are sort of mixed and nice. Like?
I would say, I always get asked this question. There is profits to be had in every part of Northern Ireland. Like it's not just Belfast. So you just need to be looking out for a house in, you know, do your research, speak to people. What's a good area? What area do people want to live in? You know, what's the prices like in certain, know your numbers.
Right, okay.
But there is deals to be had everywhere. You don't need to be coming into Belfast for a deal, and you certainly, I mean, some people think you need to go outside to get a cheaper house and renovate it, but you don't. They're everywhere.
Is there anywhere, like everywhere in Northern Ireland basically? Like
you will get a deal everywhere in Northern Ireland. 100%.
Have you got like a secret favourite spot that you
I like, well, my next place that I'm renovating, those apartments, is in East Belfast. I see it like changing a little bit, like especially the kind of, you know, less expensive end of East Belfast. The water, isn't it? Yeah, Banana Block and everything's going on Arch Road.
New buildings and stuff going up there, isn't there?
When you start seeing places change like that, and I know lots of my friends are investing heavily in North Belfast, and they're investing in HMOs and houses multiple occupancy. They're investing in those areas because the purchase price is cheap, but you're getting a Belfast return.
Yeah, I suppose you have the university up there now too as well, so that's a big benefit to that.
Somebody told me this week, I can't remember now who told me, that they still need something like 8,000 spaces for university students, even though you're seeing all those blocks still being built. And I definitely think there's a pull away from the Holy Lands. Area. I don't know if students necessarily want to live like that anymore.
We were like that. Like, we lived in Lance for years, for 1 year, and like me and Shay lived together, and we were just like, this isn't for us. Like we were like wanting something a bit. Look, then we moved to like around South Lisburn Road areas, like, and I've never moved away from there. Like.
No, but I think it's an experience. Everyone has to have, so you know you don't want that. Yeah. But, no, it's
probably even like Instagram and stuff, and people like seeing all these
people probably see
influencer like houses, and they're like going on a Holy Lands house, and like this is not what I want. Like,
no, expectations are different now for students, aren't they? Like you know, back in the day, like it was just happy to be in a Holy Lands house, in my opinion, and have like a bottle of cider, and you know, you went out for a night out to somewhere like. I can't even think the bot back in the day or something, But, you know, as you're saying, you're seeing on TikTok all these beautiful places that, like, you know, young 20s are living, and you're like, my goodness, I want to live like that. Or people are going on holidays, and you're seeing the pictures that, you know, there's a bottle of champagne coming out with firework coming out of it. You're like, this is not the students like I recognise from years ago.
But even like the prices in the Holy Lands is getting like more expensive, and you're hearing people saying to you, I'm paying this, and you're like, you could be living.
Oh, tell me, what are they paying in the Holy Lands?
I don't know. Like, I think because like the demands got so high. I remember like the likes of my cousin and all talking about it, and you're sitting there thinking like after COVID and lockdown, like it was so hard to get somewhere, because like even for myself, because like people were just not moving.
Yeah.
Because they were afraid of not getting somewhere, and like the prices I've noticed myself have went up. But it's like if you're paying like mod prices in Orleans, and you could be paying the same just like Lisburn.
Yeah.
Or
But that's what we were like. We were paying roughly around, was about £300 each whenever we were in uni together.
Yeah.
For
I'm
like
going
3
to
beds.
say it was horrible house
It was
as well.
crap,
and
but
just to be in
landlord
the
hadn't
Orleans.
touched it. in
yeah,
years.
and then we moved over like to the Lisburn Road, which is far nicer area, far quieter, same price.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's
Exactly the
just,
same.
I think it's like this whole thing of being in it. Like that people don't really think about what they can get for their money outside, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nearly like this is where you have to be, like if you're a student, like
Yeah.
everyone just goes there, but there's other options out there, like, definitely.
Because you always say to me, "Oh, you missed out, or you had to do it," and I'm like,
It is an
I don't feel
experience.
like I
I
did.
think if we didn't do it though,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, if we missed out, whereas like when we did do it, we're like, yeah, if we made the decision.
I've just lived vicariously
Done it.
through you.
You never did again.
In terms of like the whole, like obviously you get the house, you have the money situation sorted out. You obviously get in, you know your location, you see what you're looking for. Like the actual renovation side of it, because how is there? How do you sort of price that out in terms of like what's good to get someone in to do this sort of work, or is there certain budgets that you?
Yeah, obviously now I just can know in my head what things will cost.
Aye.
But at the start it was a matter of just asking trades, and it was recommendations usually from people, or just stopping them sometimes when you see their van in the street and just asking to come and get quotes. And I just kind of got 3 quotes from people, and just, you know, sometimes it was, I liked the person, I thought that I could work well with them, and I went with them, and sometimes it was the cheapest one. And, you know, mostly it worked out, sometimes it didn't. But you learn from it.
Yeah.
What are the times it didn't work out? What issues have you came across?
Do you know what? Tradesmen get a lot of broken down cars and vans. The grannies die a lot. Like, you know, things like that happen. I had a tradesman come in, and I'd used him a couple of times before, and he came to tile the bathroom, and he was just so slow. And every time I walked past, he was just sitting on the toilet, just looking at this wall. And I was like, is everything okay?
Thank God for that.
Yeah. No, he was sitting on the toilet seat. And I was like, is everything okay? He's like, oh, I don't have the tools for this. You didn't tell me it was subway tiles. And I was thinking, they're the most basic, cheap. Like what? Right, okay. I'd have to go away and get the tool. And I was like, okay, you go and get it. And I just thought, And he went, and then I phoned him an hour later, and I was like, are you coming back? And he's like, yeah, I've got held up. I'll be there on Monday. And I just knew I'll never see him again. And that was like 3 years ago. I've never, ever seen him since.
He raps at the door next week. Just took me a while.
Find that tool. So it's pressure because you're on a time scale. You have the next tradesman booked in, or you need it done because you're on financial time pressure. You know, you're paying the mortgage each month, you're paying the rates each month. And then to go and try and find somebody who you may phone up and they say, oh yeah, we can do it in 3 months. So you're like, right, okay. So sometimes I have to take a punt. I used like a website called My Builder with recommendations on it. Found one that night. My mum was like, you do not know what he tiles like. And I was like, I don't have a choice. We're going to have to just see.
Yeah.
He pulled up in his car, and I thought, oh my goodness, like he doesn't have a van. Where's his tools? Like I don't have the tools. And he came in, and I've never seen a better tiler, and he is still my tiler to this day. So it's just, you know, you will figure it out as you go along, and you got to take it in those steps, because the thought of renovating a whole house, first of all buying it and then renovating it, is huge for anybody to contemplate. But if you just think, okay, right, today I've got to go to the mortgage advisor and I've got to do that, that's the first step. Tomorrow I might have to go and find a tradesman for this, and the next day, just one day at a time.
Do you know the thing that I find the most frustrating is like, and it's definitely a Northern Ireland thing. Everybody knows someone. It's like we're looking at laminate floors at the minute, and I swear the amount of people who've been like, oh no, definitely wouldn't touch him with a 50-inch barge pole, but I'll go here. And you're like, right. And then me and my fiance were out the other day, and we were just like, we've been to like 4 places here, and it's like, what are you like? We're looking at the same floor.
Yes. Oh yes.
And like people are like telling you all this different stuff, like, oh, wouldn't go near him, but I would go visit your man out in such and such. You're traveling like 30 minutes out the road to could be told the same thing, and it's
Yeah.
just like, what is the right or
If
wrong
you can
answer?
see somebody's work that's been done, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So if you've been in your friend's house and they've got it done and you think,
Yeah.
that looks pretty good, then I'd go with them.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you end up having to go with the person who can do it the quickest, because you might get somebody who you're like, right, I've been recommended him 4 or 5 times. I'm going to go with him. And then they'll say, oh, could do your laminate flooring in August. You're like, no.
Just start going around your estate and knocking people's doors. Who done your floor?
I have done that.
I'm not joking.
Let me see
That's,
your
what I,
bathroom.
that's what I did the other day. Like I have a family friend who lives in around the same like places I'm in, and I just walked in and I was like, John, like, who done your floor? And he said, I went to your man, and then we ended up going, and it was extortionately priced.
Right, okay.
And then
Oh no.
John has money, we don't.
He didn't do it.
Yeah, but it was mad. Like even when it comes to little simple things, you feel like you're about to make, like, it's such a big like investment. Like even like the likes of like laminate flooring and all, we're just sitting looking at it going like, flip for us too, it could be the difference of like, you know, £600 or something to lay a laminate floor, and then it's like if it goes in, it's crap. It's like there's £600 down the drain. Like you don't know.
It's a
we're
big
actually in
purchase.
somewhere really cool the other day where the guy's like, we have the upstairs, we're going to turn one of the rooms into like an office, and I was like, I'm really scared, like, if we put down a laminate floor, we've got roller chairs, like, is it going to scrape? And he was just like, no, and he just lifted a key, started scraping it off the laminate floor, and I was like, fair play, I'm sold.
Yeah,
I was just like,
there
that's
you
all
go.
I need to know. But it's a minefield, like, and no one teaches you anything about
No.
it. Like, I've noticed that so much recently, is that you just don't know it. You're never sure about the decision you're going to make until it's there and it happens, like, do you know?
I think sometimes it can be very difficult when it's your own house as well. It's
Yeah.
different. Now I'm starting to build my house this year, and I know the decisions I'm going to make
Yeah.
for this are going to be a lot tougher than a flip that I'm doing that I'm not necessarily,
Gonna live in.
you know, living with. The pictures look great, you know, the house, it looks great at the end, but it's different when you're in it and you're seeing it every day, and it's obviously a different amount of money that I'm spending on my actual house
Yeah.
than, you know, maybe some like bargains that I
Yeah.
can find, or some companies that I'm working with that can offer me better rates.
I suppose
Yeah.
money you're not going to get back either.
Yeah.
It's not
And
an investment. Like.
Have you found an experience like the price you pay for a service is necessarily like say have you ever got someone that was like cheaper than everyone but done a way better job? Like does the price necessarily correlate with the quality of the
No,
work?
I've never found that it correlates with it. No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Because I think like people might have it in their head, oh, if I'm paying him this, like he's going to be class compared to him, you know, because like I suppose like the same if you're paying a lot of money for a phone, you might think, oh, this is definitely a better phone than this, like, but
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it has done. You know, I've paid really reasonable rates to guys who have been top quality.
yeah.
There's certain
It's
things
interesting, though.
you should splash out on more so than others.
If for a flip, you know, this is going to be somebody's home, so it's
Yeah.
never cheap for me,
Yeah.
but you know, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
It has to be good quality, and that comes with everything in it. You can get like, you know, really good deals on, say, for tiles, for example, our bathrooms, some companies here in Northern Ireland, you know, are doing like a huge development of 30, 40, 50 houses. So you can go in and say, like, you know, what do you have from that? Rather than you picking your favourite tile out of a brochure, you know, you
Yeah.
can go in, and usually it's a new build house. They're all really up to date, and you know, it's what people are looking for. So there's definitely bargains to be had out there. And again, like sometimes when with kitchens, always thought my head kitchens were so expensive, but I find that you can get great quality kitchens for really absolutely reasonable prices, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that adds on the most value to the flips.
Where would you get a kitchen?
Now, I get all my kitchens from Homebase at Galwally.
I was going to ask. Like,
They're really good.
Yeah.
The reason I went to them initially, they're close by, but also the joiner I had at the time, he told me I'm not going to fit a kitchen from like IKEA or B&Q, just so you know, Carly. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So that sent me there to them. And the service I got, the quality I got was just, and I've lived with these kitchens too, because I've lived in loads of these houses. So the quality was really great. And, you know, I don't think I've ever spent, and this is just cupboards, this is not obviously appliances and things like that. I don't think I've ever spent like over £2,500 for a kitchen in any of the houses.
It's like home base and all.
Yeah.
That's mad. Because I think like
Ask for discount everywhere.
Wait, what? 2,500?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, not
That's not
appliances
fitted
or
though, is it?
anything.
Oh, right.
No, then obviously your
Oh,
trades
right.
and stuff like that. But I mean, the value you're adding on with just doing that.
Just the kitchen,
Yeah,
yeah.
worktops, things.
because you can think people can get carried away with like customizing and all, like going to like, you know, specialist people, and it's like,
Yeah.
like I know my
That's
was
it,
done
yeah.
off their kitchen. Like,
Yeah, because I work in an architect's office, but it's always anyone's building a new house is sort of like, oh, 16k is your kitchen. That's your base rate for a kitchen.
Not a
That's
chance.
that's mad.
That's 16. That's our fixed
'Cause
rate,
even,
right?
like, you'd be saying,
like you're
like-
putting in like a farm, like not a farmhouse, but like a one-off
Yes.
bill, like,
Okay, yeah.
and it's like 16k. That's your bottom line.
Yeah.
That's sort of what
Don't
we're
get me
saying.
wrong, I might spend that on my
Yeah,
house
on your own,
kitchen.
yeah.
But you're here to make a profit. You're here
Yeah.
to deliver a quality product that looks great and contemporary or fits in with the style of the house. That's the purpose. That's the goal. Don't get emotionally invested in it. You know, I say to people, this is a really reasonable, like, this is the classic shaker kitchen, for example. This is the most reasonable kitchen in Hobbies. Go and get it. Oh, we love the look of your kitchens. Go and get it. This will be the price. This is what to do. And then they come back and say, oh, $7,000. And I'm like, it couldn't have been, like, what? But they've gone in and then they've like, oh, actually we like that one, which is a dearer range, you know. And then we actually didn't like those handles, so we went for this, and that's how all like the bits add on top of it.
Yeah. Would you say there's an aspect there, you're saying that you went into like building sites and stuff, like of swallowing your pride, you know, to go to these people and ask for that sort of thing? Because I know if it was me, I'd be like, I'm not going in there to, you know, ask people about that.
Well, for a
getting the
discount?
tiles and stuff.
Oh no, just like, no, not at all. Just ask what you've got. Tell them what you're doing, because you know, if you're wanting a discount at the end of the day, if you open your mouth and say that, you're going to save yourself.
Yeah.
It's an extra £500 for you going holidays this
That's
summer.
That's true. That's true.
But like, that's such a good idea. I never would have thought of that, because like, where we're from Armagh, there's like some estates going up, like, and you're like, and the tiles are probably brand new. You're like,
They'll probably be binned, like,
yeah,
a lot of it.
it's mental. Such a good.
What are, if you were going into a house, we've talked about all the things that you look for, but like, say for even flipping it where it's not, you're not flipping it, you're going in and you're actually buying a house for yourself. What are like the big red flags in terms of, you know, you're going in and you maybe see something, you're like, I'm not buying this house?
Do you know, at the start, it probably would have been structural issues and damp.
Yeah.
That would have been the big two. Now, that doesn't really bother me, because now I have the outlook on it that I can fix that still, as long as it's reasonable, and I have, you know, technical experts and builders that come with me and price it, because a builder will come with you, you know, and have a look at it for you while you're viewing. But at the start, that probably I wouldn't have touched it. I didn't know where I was going with it. I didn't know how much it would cost. I was kind of afraid of it. And then the whole damp process, when you've got a house with damp, you know, you have to take all the plasterboard off and a damp proof course and membranes, and I just thought, oh no, forget that. But now, knowing what I know, that it can be fixed, and it can be if you're tearing the whole house apart, it can be fixed pretty easily. And I know the cost of it, and I know contacts that can come and have a look at it for me. That doesn't put me off. It's actually an advantage now, because other people then will look at that house and then get put off by it. And you know, when a survey comes through and it basically tells you the house is falling down, then you may be a bit more leverage for negotiating the price that you've agreed on.
But so in terms of like looking at big red flags now for you, what would it be for you? Would it be mainly location, not being in the main?
Yeah, it's mainly location. Yeah, the location's going to bring me the best return.
Yeah.
It's people who are fighting to get into that area.
Yeah.
It's people who don't want to do any work.
Yeah.
You know, a big part of my, you know, flipping is, and I didn't think of this at the start, it's people who are downsizing, you know, they're cash rich. They cannot be bothered getting tradesmen in and starting again and everything. So they just want to walk in and start living their lives.
Is like bidding wars a problem you have, because like you're saying there about the area is the main thing, and you want to get in an area that people all want to be in, so obviously demand's high. Like, is there like a cut-off point, like say you put a bid down for a house and then someone's coming in, like do you know yourself, right, if it goes above this, that's it?
Yes.
Do you need to have that? Like,
you need to have that, and you need to stick to it.
Yeah.
And I have stuck to it a lot of times and just walked away from it, even though it's been something that I've thought, you know, I could still maybe go a little bit more. But you'd be surprised how many times that it actually falls through. Yeah. And then you're the one that gets a phone call.
So many people have said that we bid for a house once and we got outbid by like $5,000, and they were like, oh, you'll need to go back and put more offer on that, and we were like, just it's well over our budget, and someone was like, it'll most likely fall through, and it ended up, but it wasn't the house we went for, but it did actually fall through.
So when that falls through, you're on the list because you viewed it and you've bid for it. So they'll call you back. Yeah. An estate agent doesn't want to put it on the market again. That's more work for them. Yeah. And you know, it doesn't look great that this house that they've sold has fallen through. So they'll call people on the list to see if you're still interested. Does your bid still stand? And you know, I've obviously that was the first apartment I was talking about. When that's how I got that. And also, buying off market, people think you just go on Property Pal and you just pick one from that and that's the be all and end all. No, talk to people, tell everybody what you're looking for. Tell them the areas you're looking for, talk to random strangers in the street and tell them, because you will find a house and you may not then have to bid on it. If you're walking about an area you like and it looks a bit dilapidated, you can go and find out from property services who owns it. And, you know, don't be shy about
Have you
it.
ever done that? Like,
Oh yeah, I'm cheeky. So
showing up, can I buy
100%.
your house?
100%. My little neighbour Laura, she's like in her 80s, and she said to me, we were sitting outside one day and I was like, oh, we're going to miss you when you go. And I said, oh, I'd love to buy another one in this street. They never come up, Carly. I was like, no. And then she was like, see that one up there? I think that it might be empty. I saw somebody clearing it out. Obviously I was in work all week, so I hadn't seen this. And I went up and had a nosy through the window and it was empty. And I was like, oh, I'm constantly like, I looked through a window last week and a woman was looking back at me and I was
Oh
like,
my God.
hello. And she was like, hear you. So we made great friends, and she might actually sell me her house now. So there you go. Like, you know, I made a connection with her. It's all about a connection with people. So she, I thought about it that night, and I went.
I just imagine you driving through like an estate and seeing a movable van and you just slamming on the brakes. Like, holy shit.
Do you know, I was outside it and I thought, I phoned the estate agent. They were like, oh yeah, there's a board there, but you can't get in because the lady's moving out. And I just thought, yeah, whatever. I closed the door, went down the driveway thinking it's empty. It's definitely empty. And then just put my head right up to the window, and literally she was just standing looking at me, and I was like, oh no. Hi. She came to the door. She was like, you can't come in now. And I was like, no, that's okay. So stayed and like chatted to her and like, you know, made friends, and we found out each other's name and all her problems. And then she took me around the back and showed it off to me. But who's that woman going to sell that house to now?
Yeah.
You know, you come along and you offer her asking price, and Carly comes along and asks her the asking price. We've made friends.
Yeah.
I said I help her out with, she needs a van. You know what I mean? Like, just getting that. But anyway, back to the other one. Laura said to me, I think the house is empty, and I went to the gym that night and I was thinking about that. I was like, friggin', pulled a like letter out of my jotter and wrote a really nice say, hi, I live up the street and I'd be interested if you're selling this. If you would be, you know, interested in selling it to me, put it through on Sunday. On Tuesday I got a call in work saying, oh yes, my great aunt passed away and we are clearing out her house. She didn't have any family but us, and if you're interested, you know, you can certainly come in and have a look. We were going to put it up with the estate agent, so the pressure was on. Like the estate agent was already, you know, enlisted. They're coming tomorrow to take photos. If you want to call in on your way past, I thought, yes, it's 9:30. I'm on my way to work. That's great. So I called in, liked it, came home, and I remember saying, oh my goodness, I'd buy it for 140. That was in my head. 140 would be a great price for it. And sorry, 160 would be a great price for it. I was like, 160 would be such a good price for that. And the girl called me, did you like it? I said, I did. What is it you're looking for? And she said, we're looking 140. I was like,
So
I was like, okay, let me have
you
a
were
think.
just like, I could do 130, but
I was so tempted, but it was such like, it has to be a win-win
More
for
like
everybody.
120.
Now we're saying who's cheap here. It has to be, they have to be happy. You have to be happy. That's the thing. And that's when it comes to tradesmen. That's when it comes to buying the house. Anything.
Yeah.
It has to be a win-win for everybody. So I thought, right, okay, yeah, 100% I'd be. And the estate agent phoned me on the Thursday morning, said, do you want it for 140? I said, yes, I do. And that was sale agreed. Now, that was from Saturday, from me talking to my neighbour. And I sold that house for 240.
Jesus.
You know,
I suppose
6
it
months
benefits
later.
people too, maybe not in that instance, but to get it sold before they get to an estate agent because they don't have any fees or anything
Yes,
like that.
and also some
awesome.
people just don't want people in their house. They don't want photos of for their neighbours to see. Sometimes they're a bit ashamed, and they're the houses you want to see because they don't look great, or you know, hoarders have been in them, or you know, there's something they just might be a bit secretive, and they don't want pictures up for all their neighbours to be looking at on Property Pal, and they don't want, you know, people like traipsing in and out their house.
would you rather sort of bypass, obviously use estate agent for the actual selling of the property, but in terms of if you're buying, would you rather speak to the owner directly and try and bypass?
If you're getting a bargain, yes, you know, estate agents are great. Like, I mean, they will help you navigate the whole process, and I would always sell my house with an estate agent. But you know, if you're getting a bargain, and you're not, the thing is, estate agents open it up to so many more people. That estate agent comes along and puts it on Property Pal.
Yeah.
Aye.
It's not just me saying it anymore.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get around that
Yeah.
frenzy of bidding for those
Yeah.
areas.
I suppose whenever you've done it so many times too, now you
Yeah.
don't need the guidance of the
Yeah.
estate agent anymore.
Yes.
You sort of-
Have you had any like bad dealings with estate agents? Like, is there any sort of
No.
They're usually
Absolutely, no. Love them. Love an estate agent. No, sometimes it's a bit confusing, but and when you're going and seeing a property, I had one last year that just, it kind of felt like the goalposts were moving, but I don't know if that was the seller or that was the estate agent. You know, I was in a good position, but I didn't bid highest, and they said, sorry, they want the highest bid, which is fair enough. So they went with them. Then it fell through. They come back to me. So I made my offer again, and then somebody made like a lower offer, and I thought, oh, well, I'm definitely winning because they wanted the top bid. And they said no, because they want to give the house to somebody who's putting their mum in it. And it's just like, it's confusing, but that's not necessarily the estate agent. You know, that's coming from the seller.
So can you, if there's an offer on the house, say the house is up for 100, because I've actually been through this and I want to know the answer because a few people have given me different ones. If there's an offer, say you're buying a house for 160 and someone puts an offer on off 160, and say you come in and go, I'll give you, my budget is 156, so there's my offer. Do the estate agent take that offer, or do they have to be like, if the 160 is already on the table, can they still take the 156?
Yeah, they can still take the 156.
But have they the right to turn around and go, nah, like,
they have to tell the owner. But it could depend on your position, because you could be 156 cash buyer.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're in a different position to 160 and get a mortgage. And sometimes, obviously, the mortgage process takes a little bit longer than a cash buyer. Cash buyer may not want a survey. So some people, it depends on the seller.
Right. That's opened my eyes. That's
okay.
Funny. Yeah. No, we were in a position there ages ago. Really, whenever we started, we'd seen the house, and we rung up one time, and we'd made our budget pretty clear, and it was someone had put down an offer for the asking price, and we phoned up and we were actually made an inquiry about something else about the property, and whenever they phoned back, we were like, right, well, we would be prepared to put down, you know, this, and they were like, oh, well, there's already a higher offer on, so basically tough. And I was like, oh, okay.
I would want, if I'm selling the house, I want to know all the offers.
Yeah.
Yes, probably I do want the highest offer.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't care about what position the people are in, but you should be being told every offer and then the position that those people are in.
Yeah.
And would that make a difference though? Like if let's say that like him, he was buying his first house, they were like, oh, they're a first time buyer, like, you know, they're like young couple trying to find a house.
They're
would it
not
make
in a chain
difference?
or whatever.
Do you know, it does make a difference. So first time buyers are seen as like, you know, they don't have a house to sell, so you're not in the chain, so it's not going to break down. If you know, say somebody pulls out of your house, you're just ready to go, you're chain free. So it's usually a positive for a first time buyer. It then comes, you know, maybe then a cash buyer's better than a first time buyer, so it just depends who you're bidding on. And then you could have somebody who's selling the house who they want to choose who they want in it.
Yeah,
I've heard of instances too where they've sold a house based on the fact that there's someone that's already used as a rental house, but someone say like put like a higher offer on it, but they haven't sold it to the person because they were going to keep the house on for themselves but not keep the tenants in it.
Right. Okay.
But they wanted it to sell on as like, say, someone to keep the tenants on, so they went with like a lower offer because of it.
Tenant in situ.
Yeah.
Situation. I've bought one of those, so it has its benefits.
And is that like, are they allowed to do that? Is that
Yes.
God, I didn't.
you're blowing our mind with knowledge here.
Okay.
Every day's a learning day. I think moving on, it's interesting to sort of hear about all the property side of things, but like you've done a few, you've done talks and stuff. You've done a TED Talk.
I did TEDx talk, yeah.
And you've got another few, you've done courses for people. So like explain sort of how you've took it from I flip houses to now you're actually building, you know, a brand through other revenue streams and stuff, and doing like your talks.
Do you know what? It was just my Instagram was the main starting point for all of this.
Yeah.
It certainly, in my head, I didn't think I'd ever be teaching people this. Back in the day, I just wanted the money for that house to build.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be teaching people. I didn't think I'd be doing public speaking, doing podcasting, all these things, opportunities that have come along. But it's just been a natural progression. So people have asked me, they've seen the Instagram. My first two flips, I didn't put on Instagram until they were completely done. And, you know, they were sold and I knew what I got for them because I was just putting it off for people I knew. But also people were starting to get interested then. Oh my goodness, like, you know, look at the money she's making. And also there's a kind of I suppose in probably everybody, like, I don't want to post this on because, people will be thinking, who does she think she is? You know what I mean? She thinks she's a property developer. I am a property developer, but in my head, there's that kind of hang up. And, here as well, like, people sometimes are like that, like, it's your woman. What's she doing now? So it's a natural progression with that, and with the teaching people. At the start, I was getting, maybe 2-3 inquiries a week from people saying, is there any chance we can meet for a coffee and you could tell me how to get into flipping? So I'm chatty. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I went, and don't get me wrong, I met some great friends and people who have helped me out along the way with that, with certain things. But it was getting to a point, there's some weeks I was getting 40 requests like that. And for me, 40 hours a week, it's a lot of coffee. It's a full-time job. And 40 hours a week for me, like, it would be 80 hours actually, because I can't stop talking after 1 hour. So it was just getting too much, and I don't want to say to people, oh no, sorry. And a lot of people come and meet me for coffee and actually do nothing with it. So it's a waste of both our times. Nice to chat, but a waste of time if that's what they're looking for. So it was, how do I deal with these queries? Yeah. And make sure it's people who are actually serious and committed. Yeah. I started off with doing some site visits. So a couple of people came out to one of my properties, and I walked them through it and, explained the cost of everything and the order I bring the trades in and why I would do it and the projected profits at the end. And that went really well. And just a request for more. And I was like, okay, well, I might do a course. And then just talked about that with a couple of people who were interested, and thought I'd go for it and hold a course. And purposely, this is just flipping houses. I know my knowledge goes broader than that, but it seems to be that that's what people want to know. That's what people are wanting to meet me and chat about, how they can get into it. So just held a course, and I thought I'll start off with 12 people and see how it goes. And held it a fortnight ago now, and it couldn't have gone better. And as I said, they were also engaged and ready to get started.
What was it like doing your first talk?
First talk was actually really enjoyable. Yeah. It was for Women's Aid, and it was for an estate agent over in East Belfast. Mm-hmm. And she just asked me to get up and talk, a friend of mine, Natasha, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It's talking about me, so it's easy. And about houses, and people that were interested in it. So all the talks have been really enjoyable. I obviously do quite a lot of property ones, like on property circuits, Property Investors Network meetings and things like that. The TEDx talk, I built that up in my head to be something else, and the pressure I put on myself. And then when I got there, and everybody was like, even when I was saying, it's okay, I'm just going to go out and tell my story and, just talk, people were like, I know, but it's TED, like, have you rehearsed and all? And I was like, oh my goodness, and I was like writing everything on my hands, and I was there, and I was like, what have I signed up for? And then when you walk out and the whole place is black, and you can just see all these wee floating heads, and there's just that white light on you, like, that was pressure. And everybody was like, oh, your first TED talk. And I thought, my last TED talk. Like, that was, it was really stressful, but it was me. It was all me. It was all in my head, and put myself under that pressure, because really it wasn't anything different than any of the other talks. Yeah. So yeah, there'll be one now for the Think Network. I'm really into that. I'm really into, like, inspiring people and pushing people on and making them realise that there's much more that they can do and they're capable of. And I think sometimes when they, just see a girl on her own just getting on with it, they think, well, she can do it, I can do it, which is totally true. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the coaching side of things and, like, this talking side of things something you want to grow bigger or do more of? Like, or what's the sort of goal with it?
Because I enjoy it. Yeah. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy the connection with people. Sometimes property can be quite lonely. You could be on your own all day, and then you could have the odd tradesman coming in and out, but it can be quite lonely. So to get that connection, I think that's why Belfast property meet and things like that are really good in Northern Ireland, that you can go to these events. And I noticed that there's more and more happening, that you can just sign up and go and network and meet people in that industry, and it's just nice to have, like, connection is key. And people are telling it's people you may use for, like, certain projects for things, and it's also just people you bond with, and then they're in the same mindset as you, and just want to progress further. People you can help out too.
Yeah. So you've obviously give advice for people who are wanting to go out and, like, look at property and potentially buy property and flip it. But if you had someone who, say, was in a completely different field but just wanted to go out on their own and start something, like, what would be your advice for them?
Take action.
Yep.
Don't sit for another year and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Take some action. It doesn't matter if you're afraid, which is most people are. Most people are afraid, but they tell themselves they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, and that's just fear talking. That's just because you're going to have to get up and go and find it. Whether you wait a year or not, you're still going to have the same amount of time and money. So just do something about it, and that could be going to a course, going to like a free networking meeting, finding some information on YouTube, reading a book. Just do something.
Yeah.
Just flip and do it.
Yeah. Nice.
That's the motto.
That's the motto. I think we'll end that there. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on and learning all about your stuff, and it's been amazing. And if people want to go and find you, the name's pretty simple. Flipping Belfast on Instagram and stuff. And obviously you've got an upcoming talk coming up as well.
I do, yes. It's the March the 31st in 10 Square. It's the Think Network, and it's all on resilience.
Nice. I think this podcast should be out before then, hopefully. So if you're listening to this and you have still tickets, go get them.
Yes.
But yes, thank you very much for coming on, taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me. I've loved it.